Welcome to Rooted to Thrive, conversations to elevate our humanity. I'm your host, Rochelle Peterson-Ansari, Professor P for short. This is your podcast sanctuary for cultivating mindsets and skills to elevate our shared humanity. We're taking a deep dive into practical strategies to evolve as anti-racist, culturally competent, and inclusive individuals and leaders. In each episode, we're bringing you real-world examples and actionable takeaways. We're going to talk about personal growth, fostering connection, and creating positive change that dismantles systemic barriers and creates environments where all of us are valued, empowered, and activate our collective power. This is Rooted to Thrive. It is Rooted to Thrive time again. Thanks for joining us on Rooted to Thrive, Conversations to Elevate Our Humanity podcast. I'm your host, Rochelle Peterson-Ansari, aka Professor P. Now today, we have Elissa Zylbershlag, owner, facilitator, creator, and coach at WorkWise Labs. She has been an anti-bias educator and leader for over 20 years, y'all. And through WorkWise Labs, Elissa is really helping people who supervise, who lead, to really gain their confidence, grow, and create a more collaborative and supportive work environment. I love hearing that. But listen, Elissa and I first met some years ago as facilitators. We were facilitators. We both were facilitators for the Anti-Defamation League, and we supported them in delivering their World of Difference Institute and their Echoes and Reflections Holocaust education program. When we met, we instantly connected. We even did some work together when Elissa was at the New Jersey State Bar Foundation. I am so glad and so happy to see you. So happy that you are on this platform. Elissa, thank you. How are you doing today?
I am great, and I am so happy to be here with you. And we did instantly connect so
Yes,
many years ago.
so many years ago. I
Yeah.
love it. Yes. And I'm excited because today we get to talk about the concept of self-awareness.
Yes.
This is one of my favorite topics.
Oh, mine too.
Yes, right?
Yes.
Yes, and well, I can't wait to, hear myself and have everyone else hear how you define it and what you have to say about self-awareness, because coupled with my belief that everyone has everything they need within them,
Mhm.
I know that the simplest, but not the easiest thing we need to do in order just to be better humans is to raise our self awareness. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to take this deeper dive into the topic with you on Rooted to Thrive. But let's get started by you telling us just a little bit about Elissa.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I've been a facilitator for 20 years, more than 20 years. I've been doing anti-bias education.
Mhm.
For those who don't know, that's DEI in modern terms. I think it changes form, it changes names, but the
Mhm.
content stays the same. Not the same, it grows, but anyway, I'm just kind of talking all over. I have been supporting leaders and students and employees through all of that time, and in all of my times of doing this anti-bias education work, I've always been tapped to do team building with people and teams, and to also help leaders grow. People tend to come to me when there's problems. I've always been that office that people come in and close the door and go, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" And that's always kind of been my place, and I love it. I love being able to help people. I love problem solving and figuring things out. I've worked at many different places, like you mentioned, the Anti Defamation League, where we were together, the New Jersey State Bar Foundation. Most recently, I was at the New Jersey State Division on Civil Rights. I ran their education and training unit. And I just left there recently to work full time in building my business, Workwise Labs, where I've kind of moved away a little bit more from that anti bias education and I'm focusing more on team building and leadership development and basically helping managers feel more confident in the workplace.
Mhm.
And so that's a little bit about my history in a nutshell.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And so let's just get into our topic today. What's this self awareness all about?
Well, it's about being aware
Mhm.
and being aware of yourself. And there's a lot of definitions out there of self awareness. I like the one by Tasha Eurich the best. She is an author. She wrote a book called Insight, and she has some TED Talks out there that people can watch. But the way that she defines self awareness is the ability to see ourselves clearly, to understand who we are, how others see us, and how we fit into the world. And I think many definitions of self awareness and many people think about self awareness, they kind of stop at that first piece, the ability to see ourselves clearly and to understand who we are. And that is definitely a part of self awareness. But her research and her definition takes it a little further into how others see us and how we fit into the world. So I've likened self awareness to two pieces, and I call it the mirror and the portrait. The mirror represents what Tasha would call private self awareness. That's what we see in ourselves, our values, our passions, our aspirations, our fit in the world. What are the best environments for us? And that's what a lot of people think of as self awareness. But self awareness is also the portrait. What portrait has someone else painted of you? And looking at that portrait. And that portrait consists of, and that's more public self awareness, and that consists of our impact.
Mm.
So, what are our actions? And what are the patterns? How do our beliefs and our values, how do those affect other people? How do they impact other people? And, it can be really hard sometimes to look at that portrait because it's not always painted so pretty.
Mm.
And when you do get a look at a portrait that's maybe not so beautiful, that's when you have that opportunity to really increase your self-awareness and to understand why the portrait looks that way.
Understood. Excellent. Oh, this is going to be a juicy conversation, I can tell. So before we go a little deeper, then, can you share a little bit about how self-awareness relates to elevating our humanity?
Yeah, so I was really thinking about that coming into today. And I know that you focus a lot on anti racism and cultural competence and inclusivity. And, you know, when you think about self awareness, many people, if you think about it from the mirror perspective, many people believe that they are inclusive and that they are culturally competent and that they're not biased when they look in that mirror. But that mirror sometimes is a funhouse mirror. It's sometimes a little distorted, right? Sometimes we look prettier than we are. Sometimes we look uglier than we are to ourselves. personally, as a little aside, I don't really like to look in the mirror. I feel like, like as a human, not from a self awareness, I
Mhm.
feel like I have this image of myself in my mind. And when I look in a mirror, it kind of gets ruined. so, so I don't always love looking in mirrors. Like I look at the mirror in the morning and then I kind of go on my day. I don't look all day long. But so anyway, back to your question. So people do look in the mirror and they think that they're inclusive and they're culturally competent, and we focus on our good intentions when we look in the mirror and when we see those things. We think about the values that we think we hold. We think about the
Mhm.
ways that we think we show up or we wish we showed up. And then when we think about the portrait and the impact of our actions and our values and our words and our behaviors across the lines of race, across the lines of culture and identity, even if we are intending to be inclusive, that portrait can sometimes reveal biases and blind spots that we might have, colors we've never seen or we would never imagine to be placed on that portrait. Um, even failures to create environments of belonging for other people. So that's the kind of connection that I was drawing and I was thinking about.
Yes. Yes. No, that's wonderful and very clear. And that brings me to my next question. I think this one will reveal a lot to people. Like, and really bring it home because I like to bring people on this podcast that walk the walk that they ask other people to walk. So I'm always curious about your personal experience, right? Like, so what personal experience or experiences have shaped your approach to leadership, to even shaped how you came to use this concept of self-awareness as you define it today?
Well, Rochelle,
Mhm.
I am not perfect.
Oh,
I know it is hard to believe.
no.
I have made so many mistakes, so many, I've had so many moments.
Mhm.
I think something that I will share with you that is very fresh for me
Okay.
and has brought about deep self awareness in myself, um, was something that happened this past year. And I really don't share this. This is because it's so new. This is kind of my first foray into talking about this.
Okay.
So I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to take that risk and
Okay.
I'm going to open myself up here. Um, so over the past year, it was probably about a year ago, I was wrongfully accused of something that was just terrible. And when I looked into the mirror, I was wrongfully accused. I was like, that is not me. I was very angry. I was very resentful.
Mhm.
It really rocked my world. And I was sitting in it and I didn't know what to do with it. I felt paralyzed
Mhm.
looking in that mirror. And I started to really look in deeper. I went to therapy and I got a professional coach and I really started to look in the mirror because it was not pretty what I was seeing and trying to understand that. But when I heard my own words of the mirror and the portrait, and I slowed myself down and I started working with my professional coach to better understand the portrait that was being painted of me and why was that portrait being painted of me, and really looking at the portrait, I I realized that the portrait was ugly, and it was someone else's portrait, and they believed it, and I had to look at it.
Okay.
And I didn't really want to, and I really kind of was just looking in the mirror. But when I
Mhm.
started to see the portrait, I grew from that experience.
Okay.
And I was able to then think about things that I might do differently next time.
Understood. I want to just reflect that back to you a little bit. Just
Sure.
the part about the portrait, though, that I'm hearing you say, not only, well, one, on the one hand, the mirror, right, distorted or not, is our belief about ourselves and how we're moving through the world.
Yeah.
And oftentimes comes from what we see in ourselves, often reveals how we want to
Right.
move
Our wish.
and right, our wish.
Yeah.
And that others who are, well, honest or otherwise, right? Others will often help us see our impact, like the reality of what we're
Correct.
doing in the world, whether their their perception is distorted or not, we have an impact. And we have, right. And so that information will serve us well. And surface things, even if on the surface, the thing that was said to you, said about you, is not completely accurate, when you take a deeper look, you will find some things that you can work on. That makes sense?
It
Or
does. And
that,
I think, oh,
go
sorry. And I think one more thing is
yeah.
that even if you, on the surface level, disagree with somebody's facts or
Mhm.
somebody's accusation,
Right.
the fact that that portrait exists and is on someone's wall in their art gallery of you
Mhm. Mhm.
matters,
Yeah. Okay.
even if you disagree with it. Even
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
I know I was wrongfully accused,
Mhm.
that portrait's hanging in that person's gallery
Mhm.
and it's of me and it's ugly.
Mm.
So, what am I going to do with that? What
Yeah.
am I going to do with that information? And I have a choice.
Mhm. Yeah. And if you care anything about people, and especially to my people out there who are in service industries, right? Where they're the same
Correct.
people, it's information that we have to look at
It's
or we
data.
have to take in. Yep, it's data. And in the I guess the abbreviated way to say, we have to look at intent and impact,
Yeah,
looking at self and your beliefs, your values, etc., and the impact you have on others matters.
that's right.
Yes.
And there's this other great quote from Tasha Eurich that it reminds me of that I'm bringing up now because um, I think that it directly relates to this. It's something like, now I don't have it right in front of me, but it's something like if you hear if you hear an opinion one if you hear feedback once, it's an opinion. Twice, it's a pattern. Three times, it's as likely to be truth, or it's as close to the truth as you're gonna get.
Possible, right? Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I'm kind of just sure I screwed that up, but
Yep,
you
yep,
get
yep,
it.
yep. You do.
You get the point, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So this piece this portrait that was painted of me
Mhm.
was the first time I had heard this. So I do understand that this is someone's opinion, but I
Mhm.
don't ever want this to be a pattern, and I don't ever want this to be truth. So, what can I do to make sure? Because that portrait's out there. I'm
Yeah.
never going to change that person's mind.
Mm,
And that's not my job.
mm, mm.
So, what am I going to do moving forward so that there's no more portraits that look like that
Gotcha. Of you, right.
of me? Of me. Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead. Did you have
No,
a
that's, I mean, you asked originally
Mhm.
what have what's been the life experience with this idea of the mirror and the portrait.
Mhm.
And so because I've had this experience, I think that I wouldn't say uniquely qualified because I think probably everybody's had an experience like this, qualified to have these conversations around self-awareness. When we experience something, when we have a life experience and we
Mhm.
go through it and we handle it in a relational way that betters us, I think it really informs the work that we do and the ways that I can help people because I can tap into that place in me when someone else is in that place in them.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I know you do a lot of your work around leaders and teams, right?
Yes,
So let's talk about the transformation in leadership and or teams through this concept of self-awareness.
sure.
Yeah. Talk to us about it.
I have another kind of story I want to share is that it was probably about a year ago as well. I started working with a team and they brought me in to do team building, which I feel like the team building work I do, I've been told I have camp counselor energy, uh, which I'm not totally sure that that was a compliment when I was being told that, but I'll take it. Um, and so when I go in and I do teamwork with people, it's fun, it's skill building. I do team building workshops on self-awareness, on knowing your values, on giving and receiving feedback. I do all of these, right? So they're actual skills that teams can learn in the workplace, but then we have fun doing it and people really connect through the workshop. So I was hired to do a team building workshop, and at the end I started speaking with the leader of the director of the team, and she was mentioning that there were some issues in the leadership there, and I said, "Oh, I work with leaders as well, So long story short, she ended up hiring me to work with her team of leaders, and I built a program for them where it's three components. I did skill building with them. I did one-on-one coaching with each of the leaders. And then we had these leadership roundtables where we kind of practiced the skills, talked about what worked, what was a little weird, like what we shared wins, we brainstormed issues and problems that arose around different topics we were talking about. And it was really interesting because this director had brought me in, um, telling me how this manager had this problem, this manager wasn't good because of this reason, this wasn't good because of this reason. And then when I started to do this coaching sessions with each of the individuals, what actually bubbled up was the style of the director was not landing with her team,
Mm,
and she had no idea.
mm,
So I was then faced with the issue. How do I create self awareness for this leader?
mm,
So I thought and I thought and I thought. and I decided to try something. And so I created a leadership behavior assessment, and I I had all of the members of her leadership team take it. It's 20 questions, 1 to 10. So they scored her on each one in an anonymous way. And I had her take it. And I then I added up the scores of the team. So there was just one number, and I compared that number with what she thought of herself in that area.
Mhm.
And then I did a coaching session with her and brought her to the place of insight where she could look and come to her own conclusions and create this self-awareness for herself. I provided it's like you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
So I gave her that, and it really changed things for her team.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty
Mhm.
powerful.
Mm. So, yeah, so part of the transformation is some level of assessment and in comparison to the portrait. So, some mirror assessment, some portrait assessment. I like that. Right. And then coming together, bringing those things together, and often requires a third party because I guess if we could live in this world where people were completely honest and not fearful of repercussions, you would know that, but that does not, the reality is there could be repercussions for people when they are completely honest with the people they report to. Yes. And so, yeah, so in this imperfect world, you need those two levels of assessment, and for the leader at least to become aware, right, of the mirror and the portrait. So then, okay, on that journey, so there's some facilitation of the self-awareness on that journey. What did the leader then need to do, right, to for this team to have a different experience?
So one thing I think that to add to your assessment of what's needed,
Mhm.
and this is where I think that while this leader was failing her team,
Mm.
she actually was an amazing leader
Okay.
because she was willing to look at the portrait,
Mhm.
and and her team, and I know this because I was coaching them all, right? So I had these windows into their, and I was the safe neutral, like I was
Mhm.
the safe neutral person,
Mhm.
because you're right. People are very hesitant to give feedback to leadership, honest feedback.
Mhm.
But they told me the truth because they trust, I built a trust with that, each individual, and I wasn't saying anything. But each of them told me at some point, I'm really impressed that she's doing this. Because they knew what she was doing because they took the assessment.
Hmm.
And they were so impressed that she was willing to see the portrait. And that created a trust, and that improved relationships. Did it fix everything? No, nobody's going to fix everything. There's always going to be problems. There's, everywhere, these are humans, imperfect humans. So
Mhm.
there will always be problems, but that willingness to look at the portrait really improved those relationships.
That's amazing.
It is amazing, right?
Mm. Did the leader experience any change? Like, what was their perception of any shifting with the?
It's hard. It's hard for the leader. It's hard to look at that portrait. I
Mm.
experienced it. That's where I could tap into that empathy from my own personal experience, right? Because I experienced it and was experiencing it kind of, together with her.
Mhm.
And I was able to tap into how difficult it can be. Um, and the way, like, because people were respecting her more, she felt that. And wait, what was your question again? I think I'm
Sure, but
answering it.
it's okay. I mean, that's one of the results, right? That she felt, well, did you say they respected her more?
They respected her more because she
Mhm.
was willing to look at
To
that
do that.
portrait.
And she felt the results of that,
She felt it.
like in real time, right? Like, there's a perception of people shifting, but whether the person is directed toward feels it, right, is a part of the portrait, right, from those other people. So, and what I was asking was, did the leader also then experience any shifting? So we know that just by knowing the person was willing, people respected her more. Respected, I don't know the gender, the person, the leader more, right? But did the leader then experience shifts of their own? Like, did they do anything different after they got the information?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you realize that everybody thinks this about you and has this on their portrait, has painted this, you're going to be more conscious the next time you do this, right? Or that you, so for example, one of the questions on the leadership behavior assessment is, um, try to remember,
Mhm.
is that you like to be smarter than everybody else, right? So, and some of the examples I think that I use in the assessment are like, says things like, oh, when I was in that role, I did it this way, or, things like that, right? Like always knows more than other people.
I know a few people like that. Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
me too. And her team thought she got a high score from her team on that she does that a lot. Her score was a little bit lower. So when she looked at that, she was able to see, oh, okay, so then there's this self-correction, right? And I can't say for sure. I'm not in every conversation. I'm not in her head, but we talked about that for a while. So I can only assume the next time she wanted to say something along the lines of, when I was in that role,
Mhm.
that she self corrected
Right, right, right. Because she knows the portrait.
because she knows the portrait.
Mhm.
And then her team, then she's not doing that anymore. And over time, they don't know what she held back, but over time, it heals, that wound heals. And there's a scar there. There's a scar, but it's still, it heals and gets better.
Yes, 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 yes. Good stuff. Wow. So that's powerful just
Yeah.
to have been a part of that too, right?
Yeah,
To
it
really help
is.
people. And I wonder, I'm going to make an assumption because I know how powerful coaching is, that having someone there, almost like just to hold the space for you while you go through that, while the portrait is being delivered, being shown to you.
On display.
Right. Help some.
I mean, Rochelle, think about how busy our lives are.
Mhm.
And when you're a professional in most workplaces, you are not afforded the time to slow down and think about how you're managing and how you're leading a team. And so coaching and having, and she brought me in. She's the one who brought me. That's a good leader.
Mhm.
She had some flaws and she had some things, some kinks to work out, but that's a good leader.
Right, right. Especially, right, the leader that would place themselves in such a position, knowing that this is an opportunity to grow,
Yes.
and no growth actually begins without some pain.
It hurts.
Yeah, yeah, it can hurt. Yeah, I get it. That's awesome. Excellent.
Yeah.
So, can we leave our leaders who are listening, right? Some concrete, the practical ways they can raise their self-awareness, like to help them move toward seeing the portrait.
Yeah.
Oh, and the mirror, because some people really they don't look in.
Oh, you need it all.
Yes.
We need it all, right?
Yes.
Um, yeah, so I do want to share a practical way to know when you need to pay attention to the mirror or the portrait. And this also comes from Tasha Eurich. I really like her research. She did a lot of research for her book. And one of the things that she found is that 87% of people, she did the study of 5,000 people, 87% of those people thought they were self aware,
Mhm.
but only 13% actually were.
Mm. Based on her definition. The
Based on her definition and on her research, and you can go and look at what she did and how
Mhm.
she did it and what her whole study was. But she talks about alarm clock moments, and I love these. These are events that happen in your life that are an opportunity for you to become more self aware. And there's three. The first is everyday insights. These are ordinary events that can create deep insight. Um, I always think about this as the alarm clock is at like a volume of 2 or 3. It's like in the background. These are things like, you overhear a conversation and somebody's talking about you, and you're like, oh, I didn't know they thought that of me. Or you get unexpected recognition from a boss or from a child, I have two teens. A teenager says something nice to you. Um, or, you have a difficult colleague at work or you learn a new skill. All of these are these everyday little moments where you have an opportunity to increase your self awareness. Those are the everyday insights. The second type of alarm clock moment that she talks about are new changes. So, this is when that alarm clock is at like a level of 5 or 6.
Okay.
This is like when you start a new job, right? You have a lot of opportunity for self awareness there. When you become a parent, especially for the first time, when you leave for college and you have that new environment, right? Or maybe a new romantic relationship or a new friendship, you make a new friend. New situations, any new situation creates an opportunity for self awareness. And then the third alarm clock event is an earthquake event. This is the volume is at 9 or 10. These are those events that rock your world, like what happened to me last year. That rocked my world. That was an earthquake event. That shook me to the core. So something like that, being accused of something awful, or the death of a loved one, or being fired from a job, that can rock your world.
Mhm.
Getting a divorce.
Mhm.
And with these earthquake events in particular, people run from them. They do not want to feel it. It hurts. It's earth shattering. It freezes you. Like I said, I found myself last year paralyzed. Like I would sit at my in my office at my desk, like I'd have a to-do list, right? I'd sit at my office and I'd scroll
Mm,
through social media.
mm,
I just couldn't work. I was literally paralyzed.
mm.
And those are those earthquake events. That was when I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do something
Right.
because this is not me.
Mhm.
And so those are those moments where you have an opportunity to increase your self awareness.
Right. Mhm. Yeah. And part of what you did was get therapy, like went go to a therapist, go to a coach. So you got an intermediary to help you see your mirrors.
Yeah, self awareness, while it is so personal,
Hmm.
it is very hard to do alone.
Hmm.
And I'm an external I should say it's very hard for me to do alone. I want to say that because I am an external processor.
Hmm.
My husband is not. So for him, he may be able to do that inside of his own mind. And some people can. I cannot. And I know that about myself.
Right. Right, right, right. Yeah, good stuff. Well, that is phenomenal. And you've checked all the boxes for our podcast, for our conversation. You shared some resources with us, some practical steps, some strategies that people can take. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I get to have one of my great convos with you, but with an audience. Hey.
I know. I forgot that everyone else was here. This
Yes,
was just
I was like, is she gonna tell us all of the juice behind this?
us.
I literally had a moment like, does she remember we're recording?
No, I know. But I also feel comfortable with you. And I before I came into this, I said to myself, I'm going to take the risk
Yeah,
and I'm going to share that with Rochelle. I
wonderful,
feel safe with you. So
wonderful. And it's recorded though. So anyway,
no, it's fine.
I
It's fine.
appreciate that you feel safe with me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, good stuff. Well, I want to thank you so much. Is there any last final advice you'd like to share with our listeners, our audience, and share with us how we can reach you afterwards?
Sure. I mean, the only thing that I would say is to just keep your eyes open.
Mm,
I love the idea of the mirror and the portrait. It's such an easy concept to remember, and and the value of having someone, for some people who need this, the value of having someone help them through
mhm,
seeing that portrait and looking in the mirror and seeing the portrait accurately.
mhm,
So I am available at workwiselabs.com
mhm,
is my website. I also I have a next level leadership program for new and newish leaders.
mhm,
It's skill building. It's the same model as what I talked to you about working in that individual environment. It's got the skill building, the coaching, and then the roundtables. So
mhm.
it's that same model, but for the public.
Wonderful. Excellent. Well, again, Alyssa, I want to thank you for sharing your expertise, being so generous with your time. This has been wonderful. And I wanted to thank our listeners as well, right? Just for stopping by. Please subscribe, share, leave a comment. And I really want to thank you all again for listening to Rooted to Thrive.
Thank you for having me, Rochelle.
It has been an honor. Thank you.